Hi everyone, and welcome back to another lesson in basic surfacing for FreeCAD. In this tutorial we're looking at creating these finger swirls in this pipe. You see I've taken a section out of here. We're going to use the surfacing workbench and the part workbench using FreeCAD version 1. At the moment I'm running the community release. We're going to be learning how to manipulate surfaces and to split faces using tools such as boolean fragments and the surface workbench. We use a number of sketches to control this surface in the aim to create a parametric solid of the model we need. So I hope you're enjoying these videos, and let's have a look how we'd create this type of surface. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/MANG0 or via PayPal at paypal.com/paypalme/DarrenBEstone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content, and that's at patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. For this lesson, we're going to be using the version 1 of FreeCAD. This is the release candidate, but it'll be the same in version 1 and 0.22. Create a new document. And we're going to be using surface modeling, so I'm going to use the part workbench. From in here, we use the sketch, place it along the XY plane. We're going to create a cylinder using a circle, constrained to the center point. Bring this out to around 25 millimeters. Typing it in on the keyboard, we have our cylinder. Let's close that and select the sketch and extrude it to about 100 millimeters and hit OK. So a simple cylinder, and with the cylinder we have this edge along here which we're going to utilize. If we look, we have a solid. I don't want a solid, we're using surface modeling. I'll show you the reasons why in a moment. If we look, we've got solid on the data tab. Drop this down and set that to false. Next, I'm going to make sure nothing's selected and create a new sketch and place this along the XZ plane and hit OK. Right click and use the view section. So viewing through half of the model, I'm going to create an arc. When you come into FreeCAD, it will be set to this arc. We're going to use the create arc by 3 points. Let's zoom out and look at it from the front view. The arc's going to sit somewhere here. I'm not going to use constraints, but the position of the arc, you'll notice, is on this edge here. This is important because we need this edge to allow for the number of edges we're going to create when we remove this arc from this object. Let's right click to cancel the tool and hit close. You can see that arc is going through the center. If I take that sketch of that arc and use the extrude and set this along 50 millimeters and hit OK, the arc's extruded out from the center, but we want to extrude out both sides. So we're going to take this arc away from this one, leaving an oval cut in here. Select the extrude and look down towards the symmetric and set that to true. This is an option when you create the extrude. You can select it in there as well. Now I've got the arc in there and our tube, they're both surfaces, so I can take the one I want to keep, control click the one I want to remove, the cutting tool, and come up to part, split, and slice apart. We get an exploded slice, and within we've got 2 slices. And we want to remove this slice. So take this slice here by clicking on it, you see it highlighted in the tree view, and press the space bar. That hides it. So we get this void within here. This edge has created the 2 sides which will surface in a moment. Now, for more control, I actually want 4 sides. To do that, There are a number of ways. I could have taken the original circle and extruded again out this way. So I've got a circle in the middle, extruded out from the right and left and join those together. But I'm going to use the projection tool and the boolean fragments. First of all, let's have a look at where we want to place the line. So I want the line to come down here. Notice that I've got my viewpoint where I want the line, so I'm looking straight on to where I want that line. Come up and use the sketch, place along the XZ plane, and hit OK. I'm going to draw a line now through the center of our object. So you can see that in there. Let's center this line, let's right click and import some geometry, and we're just going to import the points. So I'm going to come in, and if I get the line itself, it doesn't matter. Let's take these two lines, right click to cancel, and we're going to use the symmetry constraint to click that, select our 2 points, 1 and 2, and the end point. And that's centered now. Right click to cancel, and that's close. So we've still got the front viewpoint. This is important because we're going to use the projection now, and we'll project this wire, this sketch, across this object. So across here. Come out to part and come down to the create projection on surface with this tool on here. Make sure our viewpoint is correct, and then get current camera direction, click that, and you'll notice that this will change. We're safe now. We can change this in whatever direction we want. We've just set the viewpoint of where this is going to be projected. Next, select the button, select projection surface. Click that and select the surface. Next, we need to add the wire and select the sketch. Looks like nothing's happened, but when we hit OK, we get that projection going around there. And you can see from the viewpoint how that's in line with that. So it's projected all the way around there. Now we've got that edge, we still haven't got the faces. Remember, I want to split this in 4 for more control over my surface. Click on the sketch and press the spacebar. We don't need that anymore, so let's hide in that. The projection is parametric. So remove the sketch, we actually move this line as well. Make sure nothing's selected and select the slice. Then control select the projection. Come up to part, come down to the split and boolean fragments. We've now got a boolean fragments in here, which will allow us to have 2 faces. And if we look at the edges, we've now got 4 edges running around here. This gives us more control over the surface. And this is the reason why we made a tube in here, because we're creating single surfaces that we're going to connect together and thicken later. Let's come over to the surface workbench. Click on surface. Make sure nothing's selected, and we're going to use the fill-in surface. Now at the moment, what will happen if I click the fill-in surface, the button has been highlighted. This hasn't, then just click it. We can create by going around each of these edges one by one, following around this hole in here. We can create a surface in there. And if we create another sketch going this way, we can control this surface. So at the moment, we've just got this void filled by the surface. Let's OK that. So I've got the boolean fragments and the surface. These can be joined together. So if I take them both and come up to the part workbench, I can come over to the part and use the compound and make compound. So they're a compound of each other now. They're not solid yet. If I take that and try to 3D offset that, it's going to fail. They're not a connected surface. They're just put together. Cancel that and come back into the compound and delete the compound and select the boolean fragments and create a 3D offset of that. You see it's offset, and that can be filled into a solid. So we can't use the offset to make a solid out of our compound object. Let's cancel that. But we can solve that. So we've got these two. I'm not going to make them into a compound just yet. Let's come over to the sketch. And we'll create the finger swirls along the XZ plane. Like that, and hit OK. I had nothing selected, so that will be in the middle, which is perfect. That's where we want it. Right click and use the fuse section. Gone through the center there. And that's imports and geometry. And I'm going to import this line and this line. And if we look to the front, we've got those two in there. Right click to cancel the tool. I'm going to put some helper geometry in here. And this is going to be the form of circles. Let's place one circle here, one in the middle, and one here. Click and drag a selection around those. Right click and set those to construction geometry. So toggle construction geometry. For those are construction now, let's use the equal tool and click on those two to make them equal and these two. Right click to cancel and then take these 2 points and the third one and put a horizontal constraint across those. Those are in line now. And let's make these 2 points and then the last point, use symmetry, and now we have our helper objects. Now I'm going to use these, put them in place to make the finger swirls. This won't show up if I close out. You can see you've got no geometry showing because those are construction geometry. Double click that sketch. Using the B-spline tool, I'm going to come in, select this point, connect up. Coincident to that, we've got the auto constraints and the auto remove redundance. So when I come in and hover over this point, constraints directly to that, and we'll come along and not connect up to the circle itself. Let's zoom in. Just going to place the point by the side of it and then come up and just use a circle as a guide, making sure we don't connect to it. Like so. Go to the other one, and the key is to keep consistent here. I'm placing 1, 1, 2, and move this up. Another one, come along, 1, 1, 2, come down, another one, and then connect up to this point here. Right click to cancel, those are all connected up now. And you notice the continuity that I've got between this edge and this one, and they flow into each other. You can make this more flowing later if we wanted to. Let's just focus on these at the moment. And let's place these two in line, and also these 2 points in line as well. Use the horizontal and vertical constraint, and we'll do the same with these and these two. And these two. Now you notice I haven't got any B-spline combs in here. Let's right click to cancel. This is because if I look at the sketch, come down to sketch visuals, show hide B-spline information, and we've got a number of different things here that we can show and hide. And if I selected that, let's select that B-spline, sketch visuals, you can see now I selected it, I can turn all of these off. So I've got the comb actually selected and turned off there. Once we're happy with our sketch, let's close out, and we have this sketch in here, and we've got a nice transition between this line here and this one. Just watch out for that because that makes our surfacing a lot easier to control. Next, let's double click on the surface. This is where our edge constraint comes in. It's a single edge, single wire. Click on edge constraint, click add edge, and now we'll select that edge. And we're starting to get those finger swells. Let's OK that. And look at the surface. Now inside the surface we have a number of different options. We can play with these options to get the surface that we need. We've got a max degree here. I can lower this, set this to 2, what will happen? You can see the surface has lowered now. It's not following that sketch. Let's bring this up to say about 6. Much softer now, not following those peaks. We can have some control over the surface with these. Got other options in here, so the degree here, if I lower this to say 2, you can see that's softened that now. And I'm happy with that. So I'm going to take the sketch, click on it, and press the space bar. Now I've got my finger swells that I want, and now I can make this into a solid. If I hide the Boolean fragments and just look at this, if I click on it and use the 3D offset, this will be made into a solid. If I use the fill offset, and we hit OK. So inside the offset now there's a surface, press the spacebar there. That is a solid object. That may fail depending on the continuity of the surface. But we don't want a solid of just this surface. We need the Boolean fragments as well. So I'll take both of these, Control select them, and come up to Part, Compound, and make Compound. That creates them as one object, but they're not a solid yet, they're just a compound. They're not even a connected surface, they're just put together. If I take that and try to 3D offset that, it's going to fail. So we have to find a different route. Take the compound, cut to part, convert to solid. This compound has been converted to a solid, and it's not parametric. Let's take the compound, the original one, and press the spacebar and work with this one for the moment. If I use the check geometry tool, part, come down and check geometry, run the check, and look at the shape content, saying shape type is solid, but if we look, it's just a shell. Now we may be able to get away with offsetting this. Let's check that. Let's click on it and press the offset. It does offset. We can see that there, and if we fill the offset, we have what appears to be a solid there. Let's OK that. Come in, make sure that the compound inside, press the space bar. It's invisible, so we don't select the wrong one. Select the offset, and we use the part, check geometry, run the check, look at the shape content, shape type is a solid there. Close that, and that's checked because I'm not convinced. So that's create a sphere. Click on the sphere. Radius of the sphere, go for 25. Click the one we want to keep, which is the offset. Control click the sphere and use the cut. So let's cut that now. So that is actually a solid. So FreeCAD has made that into a solid. Now, if you had problems creating that as a solid, or you want to still keep the parametric capabilities of the model, just delete that cut and delete the sphere and delete the offset. So we're back to our normal compound solid. In version 1 of FreeCAD, there's the scale. So this scale normally would sit on the draft workbench, here. So I can take the compound solid. Well, let's not take the compound solid because that is the non-parametric version. And let's click on the compound and press the space bar. Using our original compound, we can scale that. Compound there. It's going to be a non-uniform scale. So scaling for this, if we look, we want to scale it out along the Y and the X. We don't want to scale it along the Z, along this direction. take the compound, Y factor, and we can go outwards by setting this to something like 1.1 or inwards. I'm going to go 0.95 on the Y and 0.95 along the X and hit OK. So this is scaled now. We've got the scale in here. If I come into the scale, I've got the compound in here as well, which is hidden. Press the spacebar, and now you can see we have a wall in here. But now it's a case of closing the ends and making closed object ready to become a solid. Take the edge, control click the other edge, and use the ruled surface. Closes that edge. And let's take this edge and the inside edge, like so, using the ruled surface, and close that. So we've got the compound inside the ruled surface now. So if we open this up, we've got the compound and the scale. So we can create a compound between all of these again, taking the ruled surface, control click the other ruled surface, so we've got both end caps, control click the scale, and control click the compound. So everything's selected. Could select them from screen, and if we do that, you can see inside, outside, you can see them selected on the left hand side here, and this one here, which is actually the outside. So this is where it's getting confusing because you're actually selecting faces. So it doesn't look like the whole of the object is selected. Let's come in and control select that. See them all selected on the left hand side there. Part, compound, and make compound. So by right, if I select that, everything should be highlighted in green. Now we can come up to part and convert to solid. We now got a solid. So the compound here is a non-parametric solid. I can click on the compound and press the space bar, and we've got that there. So if that fails, you can create a non-parametric solid by using the scale tool and scaling inwards and closing the ends. There is a way to make a parametric solid, and that's using the Curves Workbench. So delete the solid and come back to compound. So the Curves Workbench is installed from the Tools and Add-on Manager. And if we go to part, I've got it already installed here, so curves. And what we're looking for, if I come over here, I've got this parametric solid. For this, I can take the compound and click on the parametric solid, and we'll get a green solid here. So anything that changes with the compound, let's say we take the scale in and set the scale into something like go for 0.5. See straight away it's staying green, it's still a solid, and we've changed the scaling inside that. Do it for the other one as well. Okay. If we bring back the ruled surface and detach it from here, so click the ruled surface, look at the placement, position, and we'll place it along the Z and move it positive out the way. This will actually break this now, so it will become no longer a solid. So you can see that's changed to brown. We look down, shape status is now a shell. The minute we bring that back, take the ruled surface and zero out that placement on the Z. It's attached now. Click off. We're now back to a normal solid. The Curves Workbench, that parametric solid is really powerful. Let's click on the ruled surface, press the spacebar. So there you go. That's how to make finger swirls in an object such as this. We could add this to a bottle or some other type of model. And how to create a solid object out of it from the part workbench or use the parametric solid in the Curves Workbench. Hope you found that useful, and I hope to see you in the next video. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Coffee at ko-fi.com/MANG0 or via PayPal at paypal.com/paypalme/DarrenBEstone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content, and that's at patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. I thank everybody that's donated so far. It really helps to keep the lights on so I can produce more content and also expand the channel. Thank you for liking, commenting and subscribing to these videos, and I hope to see you again in the next one.